Hey everybody, this is Carrie Clark with SpeechAndLanguageKids.com and the Speech Therapy Solution. Today I am answering a question from Diane. Diane is asking about planning and how you can make the best use of your planning time. So today I have my top 10 tips for how to make the best use of your planning time. Okay, my number one tip is to block schedule your planning time if at all possible. And what I mean by that is to put all of your planning time in one chunk instead of spreading it out throughout the week. Every time that you have to stop and then start again, you're going to lose some of your momentum and it's going to take you time to get back into what you were doing. So if you can put all of your planning time on one day in one long chunk, I promise you, you are going to get more done and you're going to be more productive as long as you stay focused during that block of time. So that's my tip number one, block schedule your planning time if at all possible. If you can't do it all in one, try 2 big chunks, 3 big chunks, do as few number of sessions as you possibly can. Okay, that's number one. Number two is to have a to-do bin, and this is mine. Right now I have Beyond Play in it that I need to go through. This is my to-do bin. This is where you should put any papers or any materials that you have that need to be dealt with instead of dealing with them as they come in. So if someone brings you your mail or you go check your mail and you bring it into your office on the way in, instead of going through each piece of mail at that time, throw it in the bin. Somebody hands you a note, throw it in the bin. You have something you need to file, throw it in the bin. And then you're going to schedule one time during the week to go through everything in the bin. Remember how I said the more times you have to stop and start, you're going to lose momentum and you're going to take longer? This is part of that process. Having a bin where everything's going to go is going to allow you to go through it more quickly instead of stopping to take time to deal with all of these things in the middle of what you are already doing. So that's number two, to-do bin. Alrighty, number three is to tidy your office each day when you walk in the door. And I know this sounds like a really simple thing, but this can make a huge difference for your mood and your motivation and just how well organized do you feel. And if you feel more organized, you're going to be more productive. So what I do is I spend the first 5 minutes of my day going through my office, making sure everything is where it needs to be, putting everything away. If there's something that needs to be dealt with, I don't deal with it then. I put it in the bin and just make sure that everything looks nice and neat, things are decluttered, and everything is in its place. This takes about 5 minutes at the beginning of my day because I do it every day. Now, the first time you do this, it's probably going to take you a while because I bet you have piles of stuff everywhere. So go through one time, do a big clean, make sure everything's tidy, and then all you have to do is 5 minutes of maintenance every day when you walk in the door. Do it first thing when you get there, which of course means you can't be screaming into your office 3 minutes before your kids are supposed to show up. Get there early enough to take 5 minutes to tidy your office. I promise you this will make a huge difference in how productive you are and how good you feel about your office space. Okay, so we had number one, blocks. Schedule your planning time. Number two, the to-do bin. Number three, tidy each day for 5 minutes when you walk in the door. Number four is to batch any tasks that are repeated and schedule them. So what I mean by batch is instead of doing each task exactly when it comes in or exactly when you need to do it, you put those all together and you group them into one big group of time. So remember how I was saying with the to-do bin that you're not going to go through your mail each time that you get a piece of it, or you're not going to file every paper as soon as it gets into your hand. You're going to do all of your filing, all of your to-do bin stuff at one time. Another good example of this is email. Your email, if you have those alerts that pop up when an email comes in and you go and deal with that as soon as it comes in, what you are doing is taking away from whatever you were doing before and you're letting everyone else's agenda be your agenda. You need to take control of your time and decide when you're going to be checking email. You will save more time by batching your email into fewer chunks than if you deal with them throughout the week as they come in. Now, personally, I batch my email into once per week. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I sit down, I go through all my emails, I get them all answered. It's much more time efficient than if I were to answer emails several times per week or several times per day. Now, I know that that's probably not possible for you if you work in the schools or you have people who are trying to communicate with you on a regular basis through email. So you need to think about trying to get it into as few chunks as possible for your job. So if you can get away with just checking email once per day, that's fine. If it needs to be twice per day, that's fine. I can tell you though, there are very few speech and language emergencies that need to be dealt with right away. So if you are having to check your email more than a couple times a day, you probably need to rethink how important those emails actually are. Are there really some situations that you need to deal with right away? Or is it something that could wait until your lunch break or until after school? So just kind of think on that, because I can't think of a whole lot of like emergencies where it's like, oh my gosh, we need a speech therapist stat. Probably not going to happen very much. So think about how few time chunks that you can batch that email into so that you're not checking your email all day long. Like I said, I do once a week and get everything done. If you could do once a day, that would be ideal. If you need more than that, try doing it once at lunch and once at the end of the day, or once right when you get to work and once at lunch, or once at the beginning, once at the end. See if you can batch it down into shorter sessions. And I will tell you, I did not go from checking my email constantly to once a week. I think I did twice a day, and then I backed it down to once a day, and then it was twice a week, and now I'm at once a week. So you can start by just reducing the number of times, or even just turning off those notifications and just checking it throughout the day. And then keep in mind that you want to slowly back down so that you are not doing, you're not checking your email as many times. Okay, so that's batch checking your email, I guess, batching tasks, and then batch your inbox, the one that I said that you're going to put all your mail and your filings and all that. That could be once a week. You probably don't need to deal with that more than once a week. If you do, maybe twice a week, that's okay, but try to batch that as well. And then you want to schedule those tasks. So schedule it into chunks where you know exactly when that's going to happen. So for me, I do my inbox on Thursdays, and I have that put into my phone so that it pops up a reminder on Thursdays. It goes into my to-do list, and I know Thursday is the day that I check my inbox and get that clear it all the way down, and then I don't have to deal with it until next Thursday. Same with email. I know that emails are Mondays for me, so I have that on my phone. It pops up into my to-do list. I check that off once I get my emails done. So I have the same schedule that I do consistently throughout the day. I took my note down. Hang on just a sec. There, now I can read. Okay, so that was number 4, batch repeated tasks and schedule them. If there's anything else in your job that you find yourself doing every day or multiple times a day or even just multiple times a week, those are great things to batch. The more you batch, the more time you're going to save. So go ahead and do that as much as you possibly can. Number 5 is have a running to-do list. And this is the to-do list that you're going to use every time you have planning time or every time you have extra time, which we'll get to that in a minute. That's tip number 6. So you have your running to-do list. I have mine on my iPhone. They have an app where you can put in what you need to do, and then you can also rearrange them. And this is the key for this to-do list, is you need to be able to rearrange it as you need. Now, if you are doing a paper to-do list, if you are a paper kind of person, then you need to space out the items on your to-do list so that if you think of something, you can put it in between the other ones, or you're going to have to write a new list every time, which is fine if that works for you. You'll probably save time though if you just space them out enough that you can stick things in between where they need to go. So you have this to-do list. This is everything that you need to do for work. So if there's something that you think of that you're like, oh, I got to do that IEP for so-and-so, that needs to go on your list. Don't stop what you're doing to do whatever other task pops into your head. Just write it down and keep working. That's going to save you time from breaking up your tasks. Okay, so as you think of something, you add it to the list. And then as you're adding it to the list, think about the priority of when that needs to be done. So if you're like, oh yeah, I have an IEP due, it's not due for 2 weeks, that probably needs to go down to the bottom of the list. But oh, that IEP is due tomorrow and I totally forgot, that's going to go right at the top of your list. So the next time you have a time to do some planning, that's going to be the first thing that you start with. So you want to prioritize all of your tasks every time you add a new item. And then you also want to reprioritize at the end of every day. So maybe you have this IEP down here towards the bottom of the list, but after a week, you still are working on these things up here and you're like, oh, this is now a high priority because this is almost due. So at the end of each day, just look at your to-do list, see if there's anything that needs to move priorities, and go ahead and either move it, erase it, pencil it in, or write a new list with all of your priorities so that you know tomorrow morning if you walk in and you have some extra time, you know that that list is exactly in order and you don't have to sit there and think, okay, I have 10 minutes. What should I work on? Well, I could work on this, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe this one's probably more important. Wasn't there something else I needed to do? Have your list. Your list is going to save you, and keep it prioritized. Okay. So I just made 2 demands on your time. The first one is the first 5 minutes of your day to tidy your office. The second one is the last 5 minutes of your day to prioritize your list. This is going to be really important to keeping you on track from day to day. Okay, so that was number 5, have your running to-do list. I think I talked about all that. Check. All right, number 6 is going to be if you come across some extra time. So let's say you go to get one of your students and they're not here today, or you are having an IEP meeting and boy, this parent's really on top of things. It only took you 30 minutes instead of an hour. You've got an extra 30 minutes. So if you find extra time in your day, you just need to go to your to-do list and start on that first thing. Don't think about it. Don't try to decide what's more important. You already have that decided on your list. Just go to the first thing on your to-do list and get started. This also goes for when you actually have planning time. So let's say you have 2 chunks of planning time in your week. You get to your first chunk of planning time. You already know what you're going to work on. Just start on number 1. Jump right into that task and you're not going to lose any momentum. You're not going to lose any time trying to decide or trying to think of what it was you wanted to do. You already have it written down. Okay, so that's number 6. If you have extra time, do the next thing on your to-do list. Number 7 is to make checklists for tasks that you do frequently. So a big one in the schools I know is doing IEPs or doing evaluations. You should have a checklist that is exactly all of the steps that you need to do to complete an IEP. Just write them out, make little boxes or whatever, and then make a copy of that each time you're working on an IEP and physically check the boxes as you go through. Like, okay, I did the red, I did the present level, I did whatever. Mark through all those things. I know that didn't make sense, but you know what I mean. Have everything listed out so that you don't have to think about, okay, I did this part. Now what do I do next? Oh yeah, that's right. I do this. So have those checklists, and then that can just be in a file or in your to-do bin. For each kiddo, just write the kiddo's name at the top or the initials, and then have that you can just check through when you do those steps. That will also help you if you get interrupted in the middle of it. You can just look back at your checklist. Oh yeah, I was writing the red. That's what I need to do next. And you'll be able to jump back in more quickly. So that would be for any task that you do frequently. So writing IEPs, doing evals, doing testing, writing a report, I don't know, planning. Well, we're talking about planning. Whatever else you do on a regular basis that needs a checklist, go ahead and make those. Spend a little bit of time now doing it so that you can save time later. Alrighty, number 8 is to make a note of where you left off if you get interrupted. So if you're doing your planning time and either you come to the end of your planning time or someone comes in to say something to you or you get a phone call, make sure that you have Post-it notes handy by your computer or wherever you're working and just jot a quick note of what you were doing before that interruption. So if someone walks in, just be like, 1 sec, write it down. Yes, how can I help you? That's going to help you get back on track more quickly once you figure out what you were doing. So you don't have to lose that momentum of, okay, now where was I on that? What was I thinking about? What was my train of thought? You've got it right there on your Post-it note. All right, and speaking of interruptions, I highly recommend, if it's possible, that you put a sign on your door that says do not disturb when you are in your planning mode. So if you are working on planning, you don't want to be interrupted by 100 people walking into your office. So I would say put a sign on the door that says busy right now, but then you can also have some options for how they can contact you. So you can have on there, please send me an email. I check those at 12 and 4. Or you can say, leave a note on the sticky pad next to the door and I'll get back to you when I have time. Or you can say, my office is open for, visitors or business or whatever at this time, please come back during those hours. So you can give some options on there so it's not just like a, hey, go away, but you can be a little nice about it. I know though that some schools or some systems, you're not going to have that ability, that people need to have access to you when they're able to come in. So if that's not possible, that's not possible, but I like to use that as a tool if you have that ability. Okay, that was number 9. So number 10 is set an agenda ahead of time for any meetings or collaborations that you do. So I know a lot of times SLPs are going to be spending their collab time or their planning time talking with the other teachers, going to meetings, scheduling meetings for IEPs, anything like that. If you are going to have contact with another person, I highly recommend that you have an agenda ahead of time. So I want you to write down what it is that is going to be addressed, what are the topics that are going to be covered, and send that to the other person ahead of time. So say, hey, I know we have this meeting set up for this time. Also set a time limit on it. Say, these are the points that we need to cover. This is the agenda. I am thinking that this is going to take us about 30 minutes. If you have to be like, I have something to do after that, that's fine. So that you can say this is a 30-minute meeting or this is an 1-hour meeting, say, if there's anything else that you feel we need to address in this meeting, please let me know ahead of time so I can be prepared. This just helps everybody get on the same page. It's going to help communication between you and the teachers, between you and the parents, you and the faculty. Whatever kind of meeting or collaboration you're doing, it's going to keep everyone on the same page, make sure everybody knows what's happening, and make those meetings run smoothly and quickly so that you can get back to your planning. All right, so those were our 10 tips. They are: number 1, block schedule your planning time. Number 2, a to-do bin. Number 3, tidy each day when you get into the office. Number 4, batch repeated tasks and schedule them. Number 5, have a running to-do list that you prioritize regularly. Number 6, there we go. If the student is absent or if you find extra time, do the next thing on your to-do list. Number 7, make checklists for tasks that you do frequently, like IEPs. Number 8, make a note of where you left off when you're interrupted. Number 9, post a sign on your door that says do not disturb when you are planning. And number 10, set your agenda ahead of time for meetings and collaboration. All right, I hope these are helpful for you. I do have a video series coming up in the future that is productivity hacks for speech therapists. It's going to be more information like this. I hope it to be very helpful for everyone. I will definitely post links to that in the Facebook group when that goes up, or you can just be checking the regular website, speechandlanguagekids.com, and there will be I'm sure tons of information about that once it goes live. So thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or other productivity tips, please leave those in the comments below, and thanks for watching.